I'm going to just put that out of the way because I'll just, if anybody else comes in for the waiting room, I'll deal with that, but otherwise. Yep.
Great. So thanks, Greg, and thanks for picking me up this morning from the airport. And it's lovely to be back here at St. Francis. Now, today we'll sort of have a morning session, which I assume you'll all stay for. Afternoon, we'll go into more advanced things, so you may or may not be here for that. Greg is going to be my offsider, so if your computer won't do what my computer is doing, he'll run around. If you're online, perhaps you can message him. That would probably be the best way through Zoom, and then he can help you out. Basically, I'll do things as slow as I can, so you can all follow along and repeat after me, sort of thing. And I've got a list of things that I want to get through, but also I want to have lots of time for you to just say, how do I do this? Why can't I do that? Is it possible to do that sort of thing? So if there are questions you have, do keep a note of them. If they're pertinent, we'll touch on them. If not, we'll come back to them. But I'm pretty flexible. I really want to go where you need to go, and so you can let me know how we go with that. So I'll just and hopefully my voice survives today. There's not much left of it, but I'll do my best. So we're up to Accordance 14 now, which is the newest one. It's particularly 14 is the new one because they want to go online, have a cloud-based one, but you don't need to go online. The great thing about Accordance is it's offline, so you don't need the internet to use it. You can just use it wherever you are. I've got one of my email addresses. I wasn't sure which email address to give you, but they've shut my Accordance one down because I only do. So I'm full-time pastor at a church in Sydney, at a Chinese church in North Sydney. I'm also a PhD student at Sydney University in the Psalms, and I also do a bit of Hebrew tutoring at Moore College. So I've given you that email address if you have follow-up questions from today. If you need to order stuff, if you have questions about what you can get, I think most of you already have a package, but if you want, there's a particular thing you want and you want to know how to add that on, ask them. Accordance are very helpful at that. They want to help you get on board with stuff, so they'll make it easy for you. Particularly people who are crossing over from other software, they'll sort of have cross grades and things like that to help them come over. They want to make it as easy as possible to do so. So that's me. That's Accordance. This is what Accordance looks like. You can see a few different things there. So you can see, for example, you've got cross-highlighting, and cross-highlighting means that if I've hovered over one word in the English, that'll also show you which word is being referred to in the Hebrew and also which word is being referred to in the Greek. So that's sort of how cross-highlighting works. You can also see that I've got a commentary running in parallel in another zone there as well. So Accordance about biblical texts, and it's about resources, and there's some other things as well, but they're the main two worlds you're going to be in, is text and other resources, commentaries, journals, that sort of thing. So what is Accordance? It's, as I say, it's Bibles, it's original languages, it's commentaries and apparatuses. So if you had a physical USB or NA28 or whatever, the things at the bottom, they're all in Accordance and hyperlinked and so on. All your grammars and lexica will be there also. Those of you who are old enough might know the big fat like Strong's concordances and things like that. They're all integrated. Reference books and journals. We were chatting about Samaya before, so there's a whole bunch of things there. So you never need to step foot in the library again. That's not true, of course. And there's also fun stuff as well. So there's lots of great resources that have been developed with photos of the Holy Land and that sort of thing. There are interactive atlases and timelines. It's on all the things, all the devices. So Mac, iOS, PC, Android, and sometime, probably by the end of this year, it will also be on the cloud. Some people have even made it work on Linux, but they're few and far between. The iOS and Android have a bit less capability than Mac and PC. So there'll be, for example, some of the searches I'll show you won't be available. The construct searches, interactive atlases won't be there. And you can only have 2 parallel panes in iOS. So on an iPad or iPhone or whatever. So whereas you can have as many as you can fit in the screen on a PC or Mac, you can only, there's limited stuff, but otherwise it's essentially the same. It says it's stored locally, but always available for download, which means if you're cycling to college and an ibis knocks your bag off the bike and into the river, you haven't lost Accordance. You've lost your computer, but when you get a new computer, you can just download it again. So you can have it on 5 devices. And so, your iPad, your iPhone, your PC, and your Mac, and I don't know, whatever. I don't know why you would need 5. But once you hit that limit, because you've lost them or upgraded or whatever, you just send them an email and say, can you please reset it? These are the devices I'm using, and they'll reset it for you. They have a limit so that you don't, share it with others. And, this is expensive software, costs them a lot of money to develop modules and things like that. And so they have to pay lots of licensing fees. So they just want to keep it manageable. The principle is if you have a spouse who's not studying or in church work or whatever, they'll allow you to share it with them. But if they're also using it fully, then they think you should buy another license. Which makes sense. So my wife has it on her phone, but she doesn't use it very much, but she has it if she needs it. Now I'll go through this in more detail, but the reason that Bible software, and Accordance in particular, is so great is because of how you can use texts. So I've got the word tag here. Now, when you start your languages next week, you'll learn all about sort of the information encoded in a verb. So you'll find out if it's first, second, or third person, if it's singular or plural, if it's passive or active. Now that information is the tagging information. So that when you hover over a word, as we saw back here in my in this one here, you can see that you may not be able to see clearly, but it's got at the bottom nasar, which is the verb to lift up, and then it's telling you that it's a verb and it's a katal, third person, common, plural. That's also a predicate if you have syntax modules, but that's the information encoded. So it's not just the verb lift up, but it's he lifts up or he lifted up. So the C's have lifted up. Naharot. Oh no, that's plural. Yeah, so the sea plural, or rivers, really, isn't it? Nahar. The rivers have lifted up, oh Lord. So it's telling you that information encoded. So and so therefore that allows you to do further searches. You might just want to find out where else does that verb occur in the Bible? Where else does it talk about God lifting something up? But you could also find out, actually, that's not God, it's rivers. Where else do inanimate objects? So you might search for third person. You might search similarly a third person plural. When do other things, plural, lift something up? So that's what you find with tagging information. And that's, which is different to keyed information. So we've got Tag, Hebrew and Greek. I think Syriac as well. I think we even have Tag Arabic modules as well, and Greek and Dead Sea Scrolls. So some old stuff there as well. And then we also have keyed English texts. And this is back to, I mentioned Strong and Strong's Concordance. So I used to think with him with all his students, and he got them to find every time a word occurred and write down he gave every single word in the Bible a number and wrote down every time it occurred. So the word sea, for example, would have a number, and whether it was or the word Nahar would have a number, and every time it was translated, whether it was sea or river or whatever, would have that same number. That's the key information. And you can also use the key information to search accordance. And what this means is, even if you have zero language, you can still understand the concept of a number that's assigned to a word, and it doesn't matter how it's translated into English or across different translations, you'll still be able to find that using the key information. So it allows you to do very powerful original language searches, even with zero original language ability. So it's sort of cheating, but that's all right. Fake it till you make it, yeah? It also has other things, Targums, Mishnah, and so on. And it's got some pretty pictures. So there's been some questions where I've had to go back and look at Leningrad Codex to see what does that actually say. And I can actually look at the facsimiles of that to check against what the Hebrew text in accordance or even in my printed Bible says. There's one of the things that's good to do now you have accordance is to sign up to their emails so you find out when they have specials. So I saw today the email said that you get 50% off Nikot modules and 52% off a whole collection. So that's one of the first things I bought when I had some money after college. And yeah, so maybe I shouldn't record this, but don't buy stuff full price because they come around semi-regularly. So once a year, twice a year, Word, Biblical Commentary, Hermeneia, Nikot, they'll all come on special and they'll be 40 to 60% off. So they do have some pretty big specials. Things you should look out for are the commentaries that you use when you're writing assignments or writing sermons or whatever. They have all the big ones and ones you've never heard of as well. So Word, Pillar, Baker, Hermeneia, Nivak, Nikot, Zibkot, Anchor, Tom Wright and John Goldingay's New Testament, Old Testament for Everyone, and so on. Heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps. All the IVP dictionaries. When I did Greek, we used Wallace, and Ross was for Hebrew. So they're all there. I'm not sure what you're probably just going to teach them.
It's mounts.
Okay.
When we teach Greek, it tends to be mounts. And last time we taught Hebrew was the equivalent Van Pelt or something.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm not sure if we have that. Yeah. But so, anyway, they're there as well. And Wallace in particular is that's sort of the reference you'll use for the rest of your life for New Testament Greek. When you go to the website, you'll find out different ways of getting help. So there are podcasts, and there's a whole library of them. You can find it on YouTube. If you search for Accordance and Lighting the Lamp, there are hundreds of videos, and so you can go for a refresher on how do I do Greek, how do I search English, how do I do key numbers. Obviously, you're at a training seminar right now, but there are also recorded and live ones that are on different topics. The forums are really good. They're very active users on the forums. And so when you have questions, you can search there, but also there's a good community for helping solve riddles that I'm searching this in this way and this way, and I'm getting two different results, but I thought I was doing the same search. So I was helping someone a couple of days ago trying to search for hine, which means look or behold, or lo in the olden days translations. And they're trying to find out how many times it had a suffix. So and trying to work out different counts of that. And so we're trying to riddle through that. So that's, again, very active users helping out with that. Tech support is really good. Live chat doesn't really help us because America's back to front in their times. They're awake when we're asleep, or they're at work when we're asleep, I should say. But thankfully, they were still awake when I emailed them this morning to get you 25% off this discount code. So yeah, but it's very tricky to talk with them live. But what they have and are able to do, if you really, so I don't know anything about computers, but I know enough to break them. And so when I've done that, they've actually come, you did the, whatever that share screen thing is, and they actually got onto my computer and moved stuff around and fixed it up in the middle of the night. So that was, they're very gracious, generous people who just want users to have the best experience possible. Obviously, they need people to buy stuff, but it doesn't help for you to buy stuff and not be able to use it and to tell your friends and colleagues, oh, Accordance is garbage. They really want you to have the best experience possible. That's why, you know, St. Francis doesn't get charged. They pay me to fly up from Sydney to come and do these for free for you guys so that you can help do it better. And as I said, downloads, all your stuff is there. So once you bought it, it's yours. Particularly that's good for a couple of modules that have been pulped for various reasons. I still have them. They don't disappear. If you bought them, they're still yours. So I've still got, you know, like Kirstenberger's, John, or Peter O'Brien's ones that got junked. Or the NIV 84, still have that one. So you can compare text and things like that. So things like that where the publisher says, we're not selling this anymore. If you've bought it, it's yours. And I think that's a really admirable thing they do. Ignore my email address because that doesn't work anymore, but lots of places for help. The only one I've said everything except for the Accordance Exchange. I don't know if the people who already use Accordance server have found the Exchange. This is where people make their own modules in Accordance and upload it for free. So stuff that's public domain, so I did like Aristotle's Poetics. I turned that into an Accordance module and I uploaded that. So now anyone can download that for free. People have like reading guides, or they might have, I'll show you later how to make ranges. So when you're doing a search, you can have a custom range. People have made a whole bunch more ranges and custom ranges, and they've uploaded those files so that you can then import them into your Accordance and use it. So it may be something you have zero interest in, but accordancefiles1.com/exchange is where they keep them. And yeah, feel free to contribute as long as you made it or it's public domain. One other thing is the second one there. Normally, help menus in computers are a misnomer. They actually, you know, whenever you press is it F1 or something, it's like, oh, helps opening, and it's zero help at all. Accordance help is actually genuinely good and helpful, and it opens in Accordance has an inbuilt web browser as well, so you can use that to access their help. I think that's about it. There's a code for 25% off, which is good for a few days' time. Yeah, a few days. That's separate to your 50% off collections that you already, I'm sure, have used to get it, as well as separate to your 25% off other items. So there are things that St. Francis or Uni Divinity have said they're good for you to have, and they've organised to give you a discount for them. But anything else, like the Atlas, for example, you might say, I really want the Atlas. You can that code is for the 25% off. But again, keep an eye out. There'll be 25% off specials. Sometimes there's like a 50% off any item. So just keep an eye out for specials.
So the academic purchasing program is for designated collections, not so much chosen by the university, but I think accordance like the green collection, the gold collection, whatever, those sets.
No, that's the 50% off.
Yeah, that's the academic purchasing program.
But there's also items in APP.
Yeah, that's just the ad. 20.
Like that might be NA28, for example, is in there because it's not included in that. So I think that might be an add-on, for example, but they said you can get that.
It is actually in the green collection.
Oh, okay.
That's why we went that way. But yeah.
Yeah, but there'll be other items that.
So things like the NRSV with Strong's numbers. Yeah. It's not in the
Not
green
in that,
collection.
but it is in that.
So you still buy it, but you
pay
put.
it separately though, because you can only put one code in and
Yeah, it's a separate purchase,
I didn't know that.
and then you use the other code. I think it was just 25 handles.
Yeah.
And -25 or something was the code to use for that. Yep.
If there is any issue, just email them and
They are incredibly responsive.
as I say, their best advertisement is word of mouth, and so they want people to have a good experience. I don't need to talk about this. I don't even know what they're all called now. You said they're called green. I haven't updated this since they were. Anyway, except to say, if you like, you can pay $39,000 US and get everything. 39? Yeah. So it's 50 Australian. Yeah.
So the green, what is now called the green collection, is basically what they're calling then the Greek and Hebrew learner. It's $200 US, which is like 300 or 350 Australian dollars, but you get 50% off. And formation students, if you have a financial challenge with the remainder, you can talk to the principal, and if she's feeling in a happy mood, she'll give you a grant to cover that cost. That wasn't meant to be recorded either.
So apparently a few people have bought the everything bagel.
I actually had a student one time who's not the smartest, sharpest tool in the shed, but he spent like $3,000 on Accordance stuff. And I'm sure he's never been able to use it. It's just don't go. That's why I keep saying just buy the starter one. In the library, we've got virtually everything, and it's now working as of yesterday. It wasn't for the last 12 months. Again, with help from Homebase in the US. And so most of the commentaries, most of the other modules, Josephus, Philo, Targums, whatever, they're all on the machine in the library. So you can A, use it for assignments, but B, you can see whether that module is going to be something you might want to get for yourself when it comes around next on the discount side. Don't rush out and buy it tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, we had one guy at a seminar, and he said, I bought Hermeneia, and he wasn't even a languages student, and it's like I don't know what's going on. It's like let's work out what's a good one for you. So we had a chat with him, and we had a chat with Accordance, and we traded it in for something that he'd actually be able to use and understand. So yeah. Okay, so yeah, orders if you want to buy stuff, support if you need help, and as I say, orders if you just want to know what should I do, here are my options, I'll help you out. It's normally the thing where you say, should I go up to the next collection? Should I go to a discoverer? Like, I want to buy this and this and this. Should I go up, or should I buy them separately? And they'll work out the price, and they'll give you the best solution.
Yeah, very good. Like because we're going to be using the green collection, there were one or two things in there that I didn't have. Can't think what it was. So I went to order it, but it just said, no, you've already got this and this and this. We'll just sell you this, and it'll only cost you $40. I mean, it's all done in the background for you. It's really useful.
Okay. Any questions before I boot up Accordance and have a chat about it? Okay, so let me show you Accordance. Sorry, don't want to scare you with Greek. Oh wait, all right, I've got a little hover bar in my way. let me just clear that, and you use RSV. Okay. Now, this hopefully looks sort of like yours, unless you're on a Mac, in which case, congratulations, you're better than the rest of us.
Did you pay him to say that, Greg?
No, we just know it.
It's very, very much context. And when I was doing student ministry, everyone was on a Mac, so I got a Mac. And now my church, everyone's on a PC. And I'm not allowed to have a Mac because I'm not allowed to, I can't photocopy or print without a PC. So that's what I'm on now. So let me just, there's a couple of other things to say before I start clicking buttons. So as I say, it's a search engine. You can search for stuff. You can search for verses, Greek, Hebrew, English, so on. It's got tools. So it's got commentaries and lexicon and stuff like that. It's also very fast. So it does searches really quickly. It's revolutionized biblical studies in many respects. In things that would take 50 years now take seconds because you just type it in and it's done it. It's also very powerful. One of the things you will find as you use it is you'll do something and you realize there's actually another way to do it that's even more powerful or does the next level sort of thing. I don't know what percent I'm up to, maybe 12, 15% of Accordance. Like there's so much more it can do. And there are people who are computer programs who then write macros. And there's one guy who did his PhD using Accordance. His whole PhD was writing a program to find quotes in early church writings in the New Testament and finding intertextuality with that. And that was his PhD. I don't understand how we do that, but it's very powerful and you will learn more and more and more. But it's okay if you don't. As I say, I reckon 12, 15% is what I'm up to, and that's plenty. But I keep learning new and better things.
So, excuse me, Doug. How do you keep NRSV as the default?
Yep, well, not there yet. I'll get there. But my point there is there's a learning curve. And so I'm just going to start slow and build you up, and you can see how far along the curve you want to go. But that's okay. As I say, you will start low and you'll work it out. So you need to set up a few things so that Accordance works for you. So I've got at the bottom, I've got this info pane here. So when I hover over a word, you can see that I've got writing down the bottom telling me
I'll put that on the side.
further information, or you might have it on the side. So up here in the toolbar is this instant details button. And so I can hide it and make it appear. Are you able to do that? Great. Now, when you're learning languages, you probably don't want to see it because you want to just read the Greek and work it out for yourself. But then you get old and tired and you just cheat. And you just parse your way through and you just sort of, follow your way. Okay, the book of the birth of Jesus. Okay. So that's the cheat way to do it. But this is obviously how you should read it. And that sort of thing. Sorry. Yeah. Now, so that's the info pane at the bottom. This here is the toolbar. You can change what's in the toolbar. I right-clicked on it and I can customize the toolbar. And you can, for example, view icons and text. I have icons only. It can also customize. So just right-click somewhere in the toolbar and you should be able to customize it. So if you can find a blank spot somewhere in the toolbar.
Yeah, I'm right on the toolbar in a blank spot.
And you're right-clicking.
Yep.
Okay, Greg might have a look. And so you can see a list of things on the left that aren't yet in it. So I might say, I want to have my atlas in the toolbar, and I'll add. And then close, and now you can see I've got Atlas in the toolbar. Okay, and I can open up my Atlas. All right, so that's moving stuff into the toolbar. How do you get rid of it? Believe it or not, do the opposite. Remove, close. Okay, so that's toolbar. You'll work out the things that you use regularly and that you need in the toolbar, and you can add and remove as is required.
If you like to sit music, you can see.
You might find it really start.
Pardon?
It's in big stuff.
Yeah. Or should we swap this? Oh.
Probably just my old eyes, but do you want to sort of increase the size of the one? That one? Oh, yeah. Hurts me to see that. Yeah.
The next thing you need to customize is your next thing that's good to customize is your library. So my second one here is a little book that's a library. Unfortunately, I can't work out how to look at things without my Zoom getting in the way. So you can also, I don't know where the library is because I never use this. Where's the library? Window, probably. Library, there you go. There's always at least two ways to find things. So library, there's three ways. You can either go window, library, or you can use a button, or you can do Control-Alt-1.
So you so quick.
Just to make you confuse you. So this is my library icon here, the top left, the little book, but it's also in window, library. And there's also a shortcut key there, which is Control-Alt-1. And the library is where all of your resources are. So all of your texts and modules and tools are in the library. And you can see that it will begin with the modules that you've most recently opened. And then it will have your texts. If you have any databases, which you probably don't, that will come next. Then your dictionaries. There's a lot of dictionaries. And
why you're only at 12%.
And then there's commentaries. And when you're here, you can also add, so if you have too many things, you can also group them. So you can right click, you can add a folder, and I can say feasting, and then I can get all these 4 modules, and I can drop them in there. So if it's a bit cluttered, so I've got all my Hermanaea modules in there, for example, all my Baker in there.
And I know 0.1%.
Yeah. So these are the little things. So you've got commentaries. Again, there's a lot of commentaries. Yeah. Anyway, so there's a lot. Lexicons, Hebrew and Greek, grammars. Here's the pretty stuff. So there's Bible art, so on. Now, I'm not just showing off what we have, but I also want to show, and down the bottom, you've got your own stuff, and you can make some groups, and I can show that another time. But there's stuff you can customize here as well. But what I want to show you is when you have texts, so I've got everything in a group here. I've got all my English. Gosh, we're spoiled, aren't we? Here's all the English ones. So what I want to show you, you can also drag stuff around. So we're using the NRSV. So I can grab on that one and I'm going to slide it up. I'm just going to do it to the second because if you go slightly too far, it'll move it all the way to the bottom, which is a weird quirk. So I'm going to swap places, and actually I'm going to move that down here. And I'll tell you why later. So what I've done now is I've got NRSV at the top, so that is going to be easier to find. And so when I click on here, that's going to be the top one. So before it was, I had to go through some subfolders, but now NRSV is right at the top of my Bible selector, my text selector. Okay, so what would be good for you to do is to find your Greek, your best Greek text, and move that to the second position. And I might get a different Greek text because Sigla is a bit confusing. So I'm going to get.
You will probably only have one Greek text because there's only one comes in the green collection. So it won't be too hard to find it.
So you want to find a Greek text, probably going to say NA28. Is that the one you have, or UBS 5, or?
Yeah, NA28.
NA28.
And then drag, so select it and
So you grab it and you drag it to the position you want it to be in.
yes.
Now, the reason that it's good to have English, Greek, Hebrew in positions 1, 2, and 3 is because if you click on it here, you can see there are shortcut keys. Alt 1 is your top text, Alt 2 is your second text, Alt 3, and all the way to Alt 0, I think, is the 10th one. Now, that also corresponds to, so Alt 1 will select them, and there's a different shortcut for Mac, which I can't remember. Control 1 will get you to a construct search, which you don't need to know about yet, but in those corresponding languages. So Control 1 gets you to an English search, Control 2 gets you to a Greek search, and Control 3 gets you. So it's just good in your mind to have English, Greek, Hebrew, obviously reverse order of importance, if you're an Old Testament person, but you want to have Greek, English, Greek, Hebrew, so that it matches your construct search. So if I show you file, new, no, I can't remember where it is. Maybe it's down the bottom. Construct, you can see there, a simple search is 1, simple Greek is 2, and the Hebrew is 3. That's why you have 1, 2, 3. I might show you that this afternoon, construct searches. But anyway, so that's how you, in answer to your question, how do I have NRSV as my default? That's almost the answer,
So when I turn
but not the complete answer.
Okay.
So you need to do something else for, so it means at the moment, now it's set up, that you can find them very easily.
Yeah,
You just, whatever it opens with, you just click here and the top one is the one you want.
Yeah.
So even if you open with,
If you just click on library now, those 3 will be
Yeah.
at the top.
Before I just fold in behind it.
yeah. So a lot of people have it alphabetized and they keep opening in Portuguese because there's a free Portuguese text, which is Aldomiro or something like that. People are like, what? Why am I in Portuguese?
That's good.
So that's almost the answer. The next thing you need to know about is preferences. So it's control comma or edit preferences, or I don't know where it is in Mac, somewhere else.
Command, comma.
Yeah. So in preferences is where you can set up how Accordance will look when you open it up. So in general, you might, so if you're very happy with how this looks behind here in terms of having the NRSV, you might want to say, I want to set that as my default session. So every time you close Accordance, it will open up exactly like this. Some people are very annoyed by that and they want to have last session. So I want it to open up exactly as it was when I was last using it. that's,
How come you've got two little boxes at the top and we have one? No, keep going, cross your right, those two there. You've got two boxes there, only got one.
Yeah, I've got last session.
oh, you mean below daily reading and favorite workspace?
I've only got that one selection, you've got another one there, have you? All right.
I've got two.
No, not what's in that box, but the next box over. What's that one?
That's just how you declare that this is your new session.
Oh, okay, but we don't have that box, don't have that option.
Which probably just means that whatever you highlight.
It just does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Now, last session is slightly dangerous because you might be in a funky place and everything's wrong. And you just need to shut it down and start again. So I would never do last session, but you know, if you like playing with fire, go for it. But I suggest you find a nice session and set that as your default. I would also go to amplify, the next one down on the left, and make sure that the things you have here are things that are ones you would use. So this is when we're going to get here later, but when you amplify something, so when you jump from a word or a verse to something else. So you say, I want to go to look at an English word in a keyed text or a plain text, and I want to jump to a dictionary. Which dictionary would you like it to be in? And so there's a whole bunch of different dictionaries, but I think you probably all have Edmonds.
So the Greek collection, you get Erdman's dictionary. That's the one that's built in.
What about Greek? Do you have BDAG?
If I can do this.
So BDAG is the standard.
Yeah, but
Probably
I don't
one.
think I don't think we get BDAG.
We've got Greek Strong's and Mouse Greek Dictionary.
Thank you. Yeah, because I'm not actually in accordance at the moment.
So you might want to find whichever of those is good. Same for Hebrew. Halot is the standard, but you may not get Halot.
No, you don't get hello.
Hebrew Strong's and Dollenberger.
Have
Yeah.
you got BDB maybe? Yeah.
Oh, BDB, yeah.
Yeah, they've got BDB as the,
Yeah.
that's really old, so it's cheap.
Um,
Oh, sorry, what do I need to make sure they are?
so just, I mean, you probably only have 2 or 3 options, so just choose. It's more if there are hundreds of options and it's in a really weird one that you're like,
What ones should we choose?
Well, if
maybe
you look at your pop-down menu, it'll only show you.
probably Mounts and
what's
Kohlenberger.
installed on your computer.
That's default at the moment.
The other one that you want to muck around with is your commentary. Now, my suggestion for commentary, you probably don't have many commentaries. Maybe you have New Bible Commentary. Is that the one you have default?
Got New Bible Commentary and Jameson Fawcett.
Okay, so New Bible Commentary is the whole Bible. And that means that whatever verse you click on, it will take you to a commentary. That's much better than choosing Nikot or Nikont, because it will only open to, it won't work if you're in the New Testament if Nikot is your default, or if you're in the New Old Testament and Nikont is your default, it won't open. So find a whole Bible commentary. So I use UTB. Yeah. Anyway, but just to let you know, these are the things you can change. The next thing is appearance. Mine's pretty and green, but you might have grey or brown or whatever. The only other thing is, I need to take you to, sorry, just ignore me for a second. This one. Export. Okay, I think that's about it. Oh, here we go. Search tabs. Search tabs is the other one you want to fix. So,
Search tab, was it?
yep, search tabs. So when you do new, like Control N or whatever, it will open up in a default search tab. And so you want to find the text that you like, and so it's probably going to be NRSV with Strong's. This means that whenever you do a new search, you want that to be your default. And so that's when I said you're almost there. This is how to get all the way there. Ensure that your search tab is NRSV with Strong's.
So it's just NRSV parallel text, is it?
No, not parallel text, because that's
All right.
only going to give you bits of Esther and Daniel, and
What's the only got there?
you should have NRSV with Strong's.
Underneath.
Did you download your, you stick it in every box?
Yeah, I've got it everywhere else, but I don't have it there. But why do I
Is
not
that
have it?
at the top?
I ain't done it.
NRSV with
It should be at the top.
That's where I put it, is it? Yeah, cool.
And, we-
don't believe stuff.
and you can see
Thank you.
that again, this reflects what we did before in the library. So when we mucked around with the library, this is the same order here. So it's okay.
That's it. If we can't play it, you can't find it anymore.
All right, that's probably all you need to know.
That's okay.
And press OK.
Okay.
something about default with a new.
Yeah, it's controlling that.
Now, I want to give you a little bit of understanding of how accordance works. So we're currently looking at a pane in a zone, and I can add a parallel on the right-hand side, add parallel, and I can add, say, let's add another English Bible just for fun. So you'll all have Strong's, ESV, sorry, have Strong's. And so what I've got now is I've got two Bibles running in parallel. So when I scroll, they'll scroll together. And you can see they're the same Bible. Because we're NRSV, you've got the Apocrypha. So ESV doesn't have the Apocrypha. So when I scroll to the Old Testament, it's not there. But so that's the NRSV with a parallel pane. And because they're both keyed texts, they've both got Strong's numbers. That means when I hover over account in NRSV, it's telling me it's also book in ESV. And same Greek word, biblos. You know the word for book was biblos? Your first Greek word. Or biblos. There you go. So that's
My first Greek word was omcom.
true. Yes. You probably had a couple of others. I think do we have beta as well? Yeah. Okay. So that's parallel panes. Now this is just English at the moment, but you could see when you start learning new languages, it'll be good to have, a Greek text in parallel or a Hebrew text in parallel. And you do that, you can change the one you've got there just by clicking on the thing, and it will tell you which one you can choose from. So don't want to scare you, but you can have a Greek there, for example. Or we could have a Hebrew, and no, that's not going to work, is it? Let me do this.
Not in the New Testament.
There we go. Okay, so you can have Hebrew and English running together. Okay.
Can I interrupt and can we look at the increasing the text size and the lines? Something I find really good for the interlinear with languages is putting the English and the Hebrew side by side, or the English and the Greek. But visually, it can be, like, I find that a lot to take.
Yeah.
So I like to break it down, like, sort of verse by verse, and give you lines and chunks, and it helps maybe just those visual learners, if
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah. So once you've got your, So these are parallel panes, they run together. You can also, if you want to, you can untie the scrolling. So say you're looking at two, I will get there, I just need to talk about a couple of things. So say I've got my English and my NRSV, and I want to see something above, I can actually, what I just did is I clicked on the little gear wheel, and I did untie scrolling, and that means I can now scroll them separately, which is good if you're looking at a commentary, for example, and you're trying to see the verse above, and then you forget to do it, and everything's moved, and you've lost where you are, and whatever. So that's the tie and untie scrolling. So now I click tie again, and now they're going to scroll together. Okay. Now the point was mentioned before that there are different ways to look at text, and again in your scroll in your gear wheel, you've got set text pane display. So currently we're looking at paragraphs, but when you're working with languages, you need a bit more space, and this way we'll do separate verses and spaces. There's also more advanced things. You can get rid of your red letter because you don't need red letter because that's a weird doctrine of Jesus' words being better than the words about Jesus. You can suppress poetry as well, or not, but I usually suppress it. And you can also increase the spacing, things like that. So you can change the spacing like that. So currently I have separate verses with spaces. So if we go back, say, to a scary Hebrew text, we can make it less scary, separate with a space, for example, and then we could even add, yeah, so it's a bit friendlier to look at. Okay. Now, down the bottom left, you've also got verse, oh, sorry, there's a, which Hebrew Bible? I use,
I think it's VHS they get.
yeah, so this is VHS, this one here, or there's HMTW4, but they're all the same. Oh, they're not the same, but they're similar. They're similar enough for you, I should say, for where you're up to. Anyway, sorry, I don't need this. I'll put that away. Down here, you can move around by verses, or by chapters, or by books. You also have a quick verse finder over here. So you can just jump around quickly. Leviticus. All right, it's too big now. So that's your verse finder. All right, so that's sort of navigating around. Now this is as I said, this is sorry, let me go back here. So this is and you can also set it as default. So when you change it, you can say I want it to look like this always, and you say set as default. So every time it opens, it will open this way. The other thing you can do with your panes is you can drag them. So English and Hebrew should really be that way. That's much more pleasing to the eye. So you can just drag it around. Oh, you can. That's much nicer. Now they're end to end. That's much more pleasing to my eye.
Sorry?
I just dragged it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, inside and drag it down the side.
There you go. Just wait till you see the little line.
That's better, isn't it?
And you can add more, as many as you want, really. You can even throw a commentary in there just for fun. So you can, as you scroll, they'll all scroll along with you. Okay. You can even move things below if you like. If I can make it go down. Maybe it won't let me. No, it's not letting me. Let me add some more. There you go. One's down the bottom now. Now let me put something else there. Okay, so you can have different setup depending on how you're. I mean, obviously, we're all on laptops today or tablets, and so you have limited screen real estate. So that's where hiding things. You can even hide the toolbar if you really like, but that's a bit scary because you might not be able to get back to it. But you can, I think it's Control-Alt-0, there you go. So Control-Alt-0 hides toolbar. So you can do things like that to increase your real estate. And you can, as I said, you've got, you can have as many as you want. And these are all tag text, so I'll be able to do this cross highlighting as well. So these are all one, this is all one zone. I can have a different zone if I like. So I could go to my library, for instance, and I might open a new RSV text. Now this is open in a parallel tab, also in another tab, but I can drag that around as well. And now I have a new zone, and I can do a whole new bunch of, parallel things here as well. So I was going to say the sky's the limit. Your screen is the limit in terms of how many things you want going on. You can also have different workspaces. So you can go over here. You can add a new. I think if I do this, it'll open a new. No, it won't. That'll do a new tab. New workspace. And I can do a whole new area. So I can do a whole different search here. So there's zones. There's workspaces, zones, and panes, and that's sort of your nomenclature for Accordance. Okay, I am half an hour behind. Do you want to have a break? Your brain's full. Let's have a 15-minute break, shall we? And then I'll show you how to actually start using it. I'm going to show you what it is, how to set it up. You remember how to get into preferences. You remember how to move your library around. That's the first thing. Next thing is how to actually use it. So next we're going to go and actually do some basic searches and show you how to actually use it. So 15-minute break and we'll come back.